today I'll be giving you a small shiur about how to win a victory. Midas HaNetzach, a bit about our generation, about what's happening today. And this is all connected to the Maimer Basi Lagani Afaisi Kalov. So, when an agent in the CIA, or what is the British CIA? MI6. So the British MI6, when they do something...
Scotland Yard, no?
Sorry?
Scotland Yard.
That's for England.
The Scotland Yard is like the FBI, I think, if
That's
I'm
not
not mistaken.
For internal.
FBI. Internal security method.
Right.
Yeah. Like the Shabak. But like the Mossad, so when... So in Israel, so the CIA, let's say one of the agents does something heroic, does something great, or accomplishes a mission in the best way. So how do you reward him? So in the CIA, they give money, cash. Very simple. MI6, sorry. They give him a lot of honor and respect. He meets the queen. He gets anointed sometimes as a knight or as a duke or something like that. A gurnet. Yeah. So each one has his own. In Israel, so this I heard from someone many years ago. Actually, it was in a Fabregen. So he said in Israel they do a bit of both, because there's not much money here and there's not much respect. So they have to...
They fire.
They fire. Yeah. So today we're going to learn about the reward that we get in our generation. What is the reward that we get in our generation? But even before that, we're going to learn a bit about the mission of our generation. This is connected very much to the beginning of Tanya, chapter number 2. Chapter number 2 speaks about the fact that we all have souls. We all have a neshama chelek elokam imal mamash. We've got a godly soul within us. But that's not the end of chapter 2. Chapter 2 concludes with an additional part. Chapter 2, at the second part of the chapter, he speaks about the concept of a Rebbe. There it's brought down as Talmidei Chachamim, the scholars of the generation, the rabbis of the generation, that by connecting to those rabbis, or to a Rebbe, so we are basically connecting to Hashem. Kol hadavek b'talmidei Chachamim, ma le'olav hakasuv ki'ilu nidbak b'shechina, as if he connects directly to the Shekhinah, which is basically to the presence of Hashem himself. So it's interesting because there he speaks about chapter 2. He speaks about Rebbe and the neshama. What is the connection between the two? And for many years I did not understand. Speak about the neshama, chelek elokam imal mamash, that we all have a part of Hashem within us, and that's it. That's the point of the chapter. Chapter number 1, he speaks about the animal soul. Chapter number 2 speaks about the godly soul. How do we suddenly get into the whole concept of a Rebbe? So the truth is that this neshama that we have sometimes is on silent mode and sometimes it's on flight mode. Sometimes the neshama that we have, it's there, but we don't know always how to express it. We don't actually practice expressing it. And sometimes we don't even know in what ways should we express it. The neshama without a Rebbe, it's very hard for the neshama to be complete. Right? A person could keep Torah and mitzvahs. A person can do great things, special things. But to know your personal mission, to know if what you're doing is right, someone that will make Judaism exciting, something that we can enjoy, something that we can celebrate, that is through the leader of the generation, right? It's like the army. So the army without a general, without the head general, without the Ramatkal, what we call the Ramatkal, the head of the forces. So each soldier might have his M16 or M4, whatever gun he has, but there has to be some kind of direction. Okay, what are we going to do? Where are we attacking exactly? Who's responsible on what? So it's very nice that each soldier is strong and has his ammunition and is powerful, but we need the Ramatkal, we need the guidance. Yes, and sometimes that for the individual, and I'm thinking about it now, all the soldiers coming back from Sder Krav. So they come, perhaps for them, the transition from a battlefield to home, to civilian life is very hard. And probably it is. But a person cannot decide one moment, a soldier, that he's going to go and do his own self-operation in an Arab village or in East Jerusalem or in a place like that. That's a catastrophe. So even though we have to, sometimes the individual is less emphasized. But that's in order to achieve an accomplishment in an orderly way. B'derech HaMelech. So that is the connection between it. Now, why are we speaking about chapter 2 in Tanya? It's because this is, the Bati Legani is the Ma'amar of the Rebbe that the Rebbe said every year when it's the first day of his inauguration. The day that he became the leader of the Chabad movement. Every year the Rebbe said a different Ma'amar on Bati Legani. And with that Ma'amar, he's instructing us and telling us about our mission in our generation. And here I want to tell you two things. First of all, that these are words of encouragement of how great our generation is, how great each and every one here around this table is, and what great things we are doing, and all about all of our generation, how great they are. And soon we'll see why. Sometimes we don't give ourselves compliments or words of encouragement, but in this Maimer, I understand from the Rebbe a lot of words of encouragement, and the Rebbe appreciates everything that we do. It's very interesting. We'll see why. And the second thing that we'll speak about is that we are, as they say in Yiddish, a bissel meshugane. We are a bit
crazy.
a bit crazy. We are a bit crazy as well. And we'll see, is this something that we could say? So we'll see. Based also on the Tanya Shurim that we've been learning the past several weeks, what is our mission in the world? What is our Avodas Hashem that we are here for?
According to Rambam, to know.
That's according to Rambam, Nachon Mod. What the Alter Rebbe told us, and soon I want to bring you also a verse about these ideas. This is from King David, actually. It's very interesting. By the way, you are right based on this verse also, but let's speak about the verse itself. So King David says, and if I'm not mistaken, this is chapter 51. Sorry, this is chapter 16 in Tehillim. And King David says like this, very interesting. It says, Todi'eni orach chayim, Sovas machot et panecha, ne'imot bi'yamincha netzach. Do we have the English translation for the Tehillim here?
No. Not sure.
upstairs we for sure have it. I'm just going to bring it because it is important. This is the translated Tehillim.
What pasuk?
This is chapter 16.
11.
Pasuk 11.
You should
Effect.
know the way of life, the fullness of joys in your presence.
Okay, so yeah, that's the idea. Make known to me the path of life. Okay, remember that? That's one topic. Make known to me the path of life, that I may be satiated with the joy of your presence, with the bliss of your right hand forever. Ni'imot biyamin chanetzach. So in this verse, there are 3 parts, and all of these 3 parts are our mission throughout generations. So Yaakov Meir, you said at the beginning, why are we here in the world? You quoted the Rambam, that the Rambam says, to know Hashem. And this is level number 1, the knowledge of Hashem. Todi'eni orach chaim, make known to me the path of life. The Yedi'ah of Hashem. And this started at what point when the world was created? This started from the times of Avraham. Because Avraham, mainly what he did and discovered was knowing Hashem. The knowledge of Hashem. Is this the only mission that we have in the world, knowing Hashem? No. We've got to climb to the next stage and the next level. And the next level is Sovas Machot et Panecha. The Midrash tells us that there are 7 different angels or 7 different groups of tzaddikim that will receive the Shekhinah. They are so-called ministers that help Hashem, that they bring the light of Hashem down here to the world. And this is something we spoke a lot about, chapter 37 and chapter 36 in Tanya, about the mission that we have over here is to bring the Shekhinah, make this world into a home for Hashem, a dwelling, a place that Hashem can rest. So this is level number 2. This is stage number 2. After knowing Hashem, that's very nice. That started in the times of Avram. It was very uncommon before. Avram is called Avram HaIvri. It's interesting. What is the literal translation of Ivri? Lashon Ever. Im Ein. Ever im Ein means from the other side. Me'ever lanahar. On the other side of the river. Avram was an outsider. He was that only Jewish boy that attended public school. And he stood up there and he said, yes, there's just one God. So that is about knowing Hashem. That's stage number 1. But then the second level was, okay, after you know Hashem, well, what does Hashem want from us? Should we carry out something for him? Should we pursue something for him in the world? Hashem says yes. When does that start?
Torah.
Exactly. In our parsha, the parsha of Matan Torah, the Shabbos that we're going to be reading, Parshas Yisro, it's the parsha of Matan Torah, and that we are going to read about all the mitzvahs that we have. What is the point of these mitzvahs? Like we said, making for Hashem a home in this world. When we use tefillin, when we're going to eat matzah, all of these mitzvahs are to prove one point, to make Hashem feel comfortable, to bring light into the world. When we do a mitzvah, we bring light to the world. That is our main mission. And this is what Hashem wants from us. This is the second part of the verse. Now there's a third part of the verse. Ni'imot bi'amincha netzach. So here it might not fit literally into the words, but netzach comes from what word? Netzach. It's connected to the attribute of netzach as well. Netzach is
determination, persistence.
Forever, right? Persistence, determination. These all make one thing. Who's going to win the war in Gaza?
Israel.
Machon? That's 100% correct. Why? What is the way to win that war? Netzach. People that have more patience and determination, which means the ability to stay forever, all the time, they are going to win the war. That's why they say, they don't say it maybe clearly, but within the lines, they're speaking about a year, 2 years. This is nothing that can be accomplished, not in 3 months, no matter what you would do there. No matter if there would be humanitarian aid, there won't be humanitarian aid. It's impossible just to get them out, to get the rats out of their tunnels. It's impossible. There's no way to do it. You've got to have patience. You've got to wait a year, 2 years perhaps. And yes, it costs a lot. But that is netzach. Netzach is someone that's very stubborn in a certain way. He's stubborn. Boots on the ground. He might not understand much, but he says, no, I'm here. That's it. It's not, Netzach is not Chochmah. Netzach is not Binah. Netzach is not even a person that's very emotional. You know, when we speak about the attributes, the traits of chesed, kindness, that's a person that's full of life. He's got a color to him. That's the color of giving, of providing, of helping others. That's a very nice color. That's someone that goes to sleep with a meaning and wakes up with a meaning. A person that is harsh also. A person that's harsh seeks justice. He wants to make sure that everything is in place, that everything is right. That people that deserve get, people that do not deserve do not get. He goes to sleep with a meaning and he wakes up with a meaning. It's a colorful life. He fights for justice. He fights for what's right. We won't speak about Tiferet and Hod. Tiferet is also very colorful. It's a combination of the two. Netzach could be the most simple person without any emotions, but he's determined. He's going forever. He's never going to give up. He's not stopping. He doesn't have to be a wise person. He doesn't have to be smart. He's got to be present over there. Why are we speaking so much about this Netzach? It's because if we take a look at our generation, and if we compare ourselves to previous generations, we are the Netzach. The Netzach is a person that is not prepared to give up, even if all the odds go against him. Even if he does not understand, even if he's not so much on fire. And if we compare ourselves to the previous generations, even if you take the level of the rabbis in the previous generations, you open their books, unbelievable what they were able to get into one sentence, the deep meaning that they have inside there. This is something that for us, it takes us a long, long time to understand. Their deep meaning. That's why if you take the Maimonides, for example, how many books are written on the Maimonides? So many books just to explain the meaning of the Rambam. It's unbelievable. So the quality that the previous generations had is made them very, very colorful, gave them a lot of meaning. But for our generation, sometimes it's hard to find the meaning. And that's why our main midah is the midah of Netzach, upholding with our faith and with our belief. Standing strong with it, even if we're not inspired so much. And even if the whole world is going the opposite, and this is where we come to the idea of the shtus. Shtut means that it's a folly, a foolness, a person that's a bit foolish. It's a bit silly. Not everything makes sense. If we take a look at the world outside, so to keep Yiddishkeit today, you've got to be a bit meshuggah. You've got to go a bit against the crowds, right? The fact that we don't turn one day into a kangaroo and the following day into a hyena. So we are the meshuggahs here. What does the whole world say? You can do whatever you want, that there's no meaning to anything, that you can become whatever you want. So for us today, to stand strong against those winds, you've got to be Netzach.
Nachshon.
You've got to be Nachshon. In previous generations, they were never challenged like this, because everyone knew that there's a meaning. A meaning is that you have your place, you do what you do, and that's it. By the way, even in the Jewish world, it was like that. You know that in the shtetl, there were different shuls. There was a shul for the bakers. There was a shul for the shoemakers. There was a shul for the businessmen. Each one. So we're not encouraging something like that. That's of course not good. But there was a lot of separation, because separation brings meaning. That this is each one has his own color. Person is chesed, another person is gevura. They don't intervene. They don't mix up. And today, what happens is the opposite. Everything is mixed up. So for that, we have to use this midat netzach. It's a midah that seems like there's not much in it. There's not much within that midah. It's a person that's very stubborn. Sometimes people with midat netzach, by the way, are people that are the best competitors, right? If you're competing with someone else, you have to go with sometimes people look at it and they say, you're foolish. What are you stubborn about this piece of land? What are you stubborn about this tradition or that tradition? Flow with what goes. And that's the culture that we see outside. The culture that we experience outside is that don't be stubborn about your nationality, about your religion. Why? That's foolish. What is the point to stick to just one way?
About.
The answer is that not in every case, of course. In some cases, so that's the beauty of Yiddishkeit, that there's many opinions, that there's many ways. Yeah? But when we talk about the klipa outside, things that are impure. So in that case, we have to be stubborn and we've got to say, no, ad kan lo yoter. And I'll tell you about, it says about midat netzach. Out of all of the midot in Seder Ishtalshalut, these are already Kabbalic concepts. But it applies also to us in the Hasidus way, that means also something in our Avodas Hashem. So it says that the only attribute that reaches the highest level of Hashem is Netzach. Not Chesed, not even Chochmah. Chochmah is the highest level. Not Chochmah, not Binah, not Dat, not Chesed, not Gevurah, not Tiferet. None of those. They don't reach the level of Hashem himself. What midah reaches Hashem himself? Only Netzach. And there's a parable. There's two parables. There's the parable that's brought in the Maiber, and there's a parable that maybe we can relate to as well. At least the drivers here. So in the Maiber, it speaks about that when a king is fighting a war, And usually kings, the most expensive jewels in the world, kings own that jewelry, right? Other people don't. They don't really use it. But part of what makes a kingdom so special, or a king so special, is the fact that he has jewels that he hides, that he keeps, that are part of his treasure. He doesn't show them, right? Doesn't use them even. Most of them aren't even used. Even in England, there was once, right, when an inauguration of King Charles, so that was an opportunity to see all the different crowns and the different pieces of jewelry, and each one has its own style, and each one is worth extraordinary amounts. But usually this is not, it's not used. What time? So the king, by the way, he would show it from time to time. Let's say if he's marrying off his son. So part of what a king feels, when he feels powerful, something special, he feels great, he feels happy, he feels proud, so he wants to show his jewels. So yes, he would bring out the crown, let's say, or another ancient jewel that's worth a lot of money. But would he sell it? No. Would he give it to the civilians to use? No chance. There's one time that a king does sell every single thing that he has. That's when he wants victory. When he's fighting a war, he would use everything that he has. Nothing is out of the table. Why? Because victory is about your presence, your existence. You're prepared to give everything for that. Sometimes it's also about pride, right? So it's not an accurate comparison, but if you want to bring something, it's like two people driving. So they say the worst thing to get is about when two people are driving and one tries to cut into your lane, because it's about the ego. Nothing's gonna, or someone that's racing the other, right? That's the worst thing, because you have to prove your point. That is Midat HaNetzach. It's not the real Midat HaNetzach, because it's not about your existence, more about your ego. But imagine about a person, about his mitziut, if they would question your existence, right? Or someone's opinion sometimes. You said something around the Shabbos table, and then someone disagrees. So you're going to go and you're going to bring 1,000 stories to prove your point. And that's not even about your existence. What if someone would question your existence? Or he would go to war against you? That is about etzem hametzios. That is whether you are worthy of existing. So you use everything that you have. That is when a king uses all of his jewels. It's not only that if they would win the war, so the jewels would be pointless. That's true, but still, you're not going to go and sell. You're not going to go sell a crown just because you want more money, so they don't end up with the money. You sell the crown because you understand that is your metziut, and this is your existence, and therefore anything I would do in order to prove my existence and to remain alive. That is the story of our mission today. That is the last part of the verse that King David says, with the bliss of your right hand forever. The idea of something that lasts forever is Midat HaNetzach. That you're not prepared to give up on anything. You want to win, you want victory. So, going back to the mission that we have today, the times of Abraham Avinu, in those times, Avraham Avinu was about knowing God. No one knew Hashem at that point. We've got to understand, people used to worship idols. That was the most common thing to do. Today, we are blessed. And by the way, the Rambam says something very interesting. The Rambam said that also Yoshka and also Muhammad, they both came and they both serve a role in the ultimate plan of Hashem of the coming of Mashiach. Wow. How can the Rambam say such a thing? Yes. Because we've got to understand the world before those two people was a world of pagans, people that worshipped idols all the time. So it's going to be so hard for Mashiach to deal with them. If you've got to go and convince people that that idols don't do anything, that's a lot of work. So at least they got rid of that side of things. That's why they all play a part in the coming of Mashiach. Of course, the real Mashiach. But then there's an additional part. And the second part starts with the times of Matan Torah that we'll read about in our parsha. That is about making a home for Hashem. That's what we've been doing for approximately 2,000 years. Shnei Alafim Torah. The 2,000 years since Matan Torah. They are years where we bring Hashem down to the world. But many, many times, the Gemara even says, Kalu kolakitzim. All the deadlines we've reached. That's it. Mashiach has to come. There's one last thing to do. It's to remain strong. That's it. Not only, of course, we do the mitzvahs, we bring Hashem over here. But part of what when we bring Hashem here into the world, we want the victory. That's it. And by the way, that's why a country can never, ever, and there's a big difference between a country that's always constantly fighting rebels or terrorist groups. They cannot allow that to happen. You want the victory. A victory means that there's no more question. It's something that can last forever. And that is our mission of our generation. Perhaps it's the hardest mission because it's sometimes it's like in the army they call it a Shin Gimel. What is a Shin Gimel? If I'm not mistaken, it's Shomer Gader or Shomer Gvul, something like that. So he's the guy that waits by the gate. He's not the Ramatkal, he's not the commander, he's not with any special mission, but he is there. And you know, when we see it, soon we'll speak also a bit about the Tzimtzum, but we see it mostly in the youth, the young generation. The old generation, they need to understand. They need to like it. They need to feel it in order to stand up strong. The younger generation, they don't know Chofmas. And you know, there was a story not long ago in the Gymnasia in Herzliya. So there was a Chabad Shaliach over there that went offered the kids to put on tefillin. Of course, they're after Bar Mitzvah. You offer them to put on tefillin. And the principal goes out telling his own student, don't put on tefillin, don't put on tefillin, you shouldn't do it. And he was trying to force him. And the student said, no, don't touch me, I want to put on tefillin. And a day afterwards, hundreds of students, they put on tefillin. They had a whole protest about it and a whole story. Now that student is 14, maybe 15, maximum, maybe 16 years old. Does he understand a lot about life? Does he have experience? He has no experience, nothing. But he knows one thing. I am a Yid, I am Jewish, and the Yid puts on tefillin. As simple as that.
The principle was
He goes and he
secular.
puts on tefillin. Yes, but the students are also so-called secular. But we underestimate them. That is Midat HaNetzach. Midat HaNetzach is about just standing strong. About the Tzimtzum, it says, and this is one of the deep concepts in Hasidus, that Hashem needed to extract his light from the world. For there to be a world, if there's too much light, then there cannot be a world. Imagine all of us under the light of Hashem. We would become part of Hashem. We would serve Hashem all the time. If Hashem would reveal himself here and speak to us every single day, of course we would listen to him. So that's why it says that the light of Hashem needed to be removed from the world. But there is one thing that was never removed from the world. And this is, in the words of Chassidus, the Ma'or. HaMa'or behitgalut, the luminary itself is here. The light is not here, but the luminary itself is. How does that work? It's a whole discussion, it's a whole question. But what is the logic? The luminary of Hashem can never disappear. If Hashem is the real existence, then you can't say, it's like, if the property is written on your name, it's your, if you're there, you're not there, it's a different story. But if it's written on your name, that's it. It cannot be not written on your name, but belong to you. So Hashem cannot remove his name from the world. So the luminary is here. Hashem himself is here all the time, but he does not reveal it. He's not walking revealedly in the property, but he has to be in the property. It's written on his name. So the sun itself is here. That's the idea. And who is affected by that? The little children. The Rashba writes in his book of answers. People asked him from all over the world. The work of the Rashba is unbelievable. Rabbi Shlomo ben Aderet. And he lived in Spain, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a street in Rechavia after his name. And he was also a doctor. He was also a head of a yeshiva. And he also accepted people to give them personal advice. So, and plus he wrote books. He wrote books on the Shulchan Aruch, not on the Shulchan Aruch, on the Gemara, and he wrote books answering questions that he received from all over the world. And the Rebbe said that he had time to go for a walk from time to time. It's very interesting. Time management. So the Rashba was unbelievable with that. And what happened with the Rashba is that the Rashba writes in his sefer that when he davens, he has in mind Areini mispale leda'as ze hatinoik. When I pray to Hashem, I pray to the same God that a little child has in mind. Because sometimes the older a person gets, he thinks more about Hashem. So he says, who am I referring to here? Am I referring to this level of God, to a higher level of God, maybe to God that's above any type of levels? Who am I davening to? So the Rashba says a very simple answer. I am davening to the same God that the little kid has in mind. The little child, does he wonder which God he's praying to? This, that, which level it is, or which angels are involved in carrying up his davening to Hashem? No. The little child does not know what we call chokhmas. He davens to Hashem, that's it. Very simple. So when he davens, he has that same Hashem in mind. And that's why you go to the younger generation. It's unbelievable to see the level of belief. What experience do they have? What are they basing their belief on? That is only because the luminary is here. Some people call it subconscious. Why do people suddenly wake up in the middle of the day with thoughts of connection to Hashem? Or in the middle of their lives? Person is 50, 60 years old, the peak of his career, and suddenly he wants to strengthen his connection to Hashem. Or suddenly he feels Hashem's presence more. What happened? Where does that come from? That is because the luminary is here. He cannot reveal himself. He doesn't want to reveal himself because he wants us to feel that we are independent. But he truly is present in the world. His name is written on the property. There's no way out of it. So we don't always feel it. We cannot always see it. But from time to time, this thing is exposed. So this is our generation today. These are the words of encouragement. The Rebbe says the fact that we are still keeping our traditions, doing mitzvahs, studying Torah, that's unbelievable. It's against all odds. Previous generations, of course there were tradition. Of course they learned. Why did they learn? Because they knew what they're talking about. They knew how to learn properly. Why were people then so observant? Much more observant. They felt more of the holiness, more of the Kedusha. No one heard about news coming from America really every time. No one had WhatsApp over there. No one had internet so that one moment they can connect to anything, any piece of information that they want. They didn't have our challenges today. Person was in a shtetl, maybe it was in a bigger city. So it's not that it was easy then. But if you think about the rabbis in those generations, they dedicated 24/7 to study. They had no dreams about going around the world, or about visiting this place or visiting that place, or about learning this philosophy or that science. Some did, but the majority of them did not have the possibility to do so. So they kept at home and they focused on home. The children, the younger generation, were not exposed to what children are exposed today. That's why they had a lot of color, a lot of self-knowledge, a lot of quality knowledge. But the Rebbe says today, when a child can connect to China and to be involved in the Chinese culture, and that's just an example, right? A child today could do whatever he wants. The parents cannot force him anymore in schools. The teachers cannot force him. He's got so much information and so much ways to connect to anything that he wants. He can literally do whatever he wants. But the child goes and chooses to put on tefillin. You've got to be a bit of a meshugana to do that.
But the inspirations from the parents.
Today,
Child left to himself would not do it.
Today, I think there's a lot of room for research today, but my feeling is that has changed. The children and their connection to the parents today, parents are busy with their career, busy with their phones when the child is already home. The child goes to what's called chugim. What are chugim? Enrichment classes. How much does he learn from a parent? Of course, there's a lot of room, a huge amount of room for that. But nothing compared to previous generations. Today, a child that wants to learn Chinese, he can learn Chinese instantly. And there are children that they love the Japanese cartoons. That's what they watch all day, Japanese cartoons. Go try to take a smartphone out of, or a PS, what's it called, PlayStation, out of a child's hands. There's no chance. It's a new generation. And nevertheless, they fight in Gaza. You know, even in the military, they were speaking about the fact that if we will have a serious war, it's going to be a huge challenge for the army, because it's a TikTok generation. The TikTok generation, they're all about the smartphones and about this game and that game. How are they going to fight properly? And today we see that they're fighting properly, not only by using the weapon, but by knowing why we are fighting. That's the most important part. And this is the netzach. We are here. Sometimes the children, they weren't even mamish educated on the holiness of Eretz Yisrael. And even recent events that used to be very, very clear to people about the Holocaust and about the pogroms and Jew hatred, etc. These are things that today perhaps the kids do not have the same information that people had 20 years ago. But they're still strong, bemet, about their connection to Hashem. This is Midat HaNetzach. This is the final steps of what Hashem wants us to do. Knowing Hashem, Avraham did. Bringing down Hashem's presence through doing the mitzvahs, very important. We still do it today, but mostly that was accomplished. From Matan Torah 3,370 years ago, something like that. That was accomplished. The last steps before Mashiach are just about Netzach, standing and upholding what we have, without always understanding. And you know what? The king gives the most jewels for those infantry soldiers. The moment that it's a fight for life, and for Midas HaNetzach, that's when you get the most jewels. Previous generations, so what Hashem did is he revealed his jewels. It was a day of his wedding, so he showed the people the precious jewels. But today, we actually get it. We actually receive it. And that is all for us to uphold and to maintain our victory through our presence, just being over here. It's like even the idea of moving to a different country, a different place. If you ask most people today, 98% or 99% did not leave Israel. Maybe there's 1% of people that left also for a small amount of time.
They left before.
They left before. That's because sometimes we're not sure about our victory.
It wasn't about victory.
There was something else.
Years ago.
When's this?
How many Israelis are in America?
Oh, yeah, right. But the moment that they heard about the war, they sent their children, they sent support, financial support, volunteers here. There were just 2 people that came in to volunteer packaging sandwiches for the soldiers that they do every day at Shai Agnon at the Beth Chabad over there, which is it's beautiful. It's unbelievable. So then you see it. People, we're talking about reform communities sometimes. Don't even understand. They don't really relate to the Israeli policy all the time. But when it's a time for victory, everyone's here. There's no games, no chachmas. And again, for that, you've got to be a Bissel Meshuggah. I think that most of them do. I think that especially after what happened on the 7th of October, there's a huge change. Just the amount of aid that comes from those organizations is huge. Yes, always to the headlines you will hear about the 1% of extremists. But the majority of them, they understand very well because they remember. They know what genocide looks like. Like Golda Meir said once, when Israel being accused of genocide did not start now. It started many years ago. And Golda Meir once stood up on the UN podium, or it was an interview, I don't remember exactly, but she says that she remembers the pogroms in Kishinev. No one can come and teach her about what a real pogrom is. The feeling that the people had and what they really did to them. This is something that she survived the pogroms in Kishinev. So this is basically what we learned today. These are words of encouragement to know our mission today. What is our mission? Sometimes, and the Rebbe also said it in various ways. The Rebbe said today, to teach someone else, do you have to have some kind of qualification? The Rebbe said no. It used to be that a person never felt, and by the way, you'll find it sometimes at the older generation. There are a few rabbis that I tried to convince them to come and give a shiur over here. So they said, no, I'm not qualified. I know the person. He knows a tremendous amount of Torah. He knows so much. He can give a shiur and it will be unbelievable. I'm not qualified. I don't want to say. I'm not sure. He wrote a book. Tell us your book. That's it. No, this is a book. I only have a few copies. I give it to friends. Why?
Rabbi Krieger.
So, and there are a few others as well. So, and they are right. Yes, to a certain extent. But today, our generation, the Rebbe says, you know Aleph, teach someone else Aleph. Why not? Someone asks you a question, give them an answer. You're not qualified. Is anyone qualified? Not 100%, but you know something. So the small amount that you know, share it with someone else. That is Netzach. He's very humble. I'm not criticizing him at all. I appreciate those people. And for our generation, what we could learn from him, right? You agree? We could learn from him a lot. He doesn't want to. Okay, that's his calculation. But for today, for us, we know, teach to someone else. No one's going to crown you as someone so special. Don't worry about that.
Maybe
But
we
if you-
should look at one of his books.
You're right. Yeah, I want him to come and tell him that we're waiting for him in the back.
I'd be interested.
Yes. So this is the idea that we might not know a lot, but what we do know, we are connected to. We are Netzach. That's it. This is us. Yeshar Koach, thank you very much.